Oh my god, y'all. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Because he is moving, y'all. He is working through my testimony. And let me tell y'all something. I've been lagging a little bit. I've been lagging a little bit. But listen. We're getting back to it, okay? Nothing. Like I said, he can try, baby. He can try. But my fire, I ain't going nowhere. Nowhere. But I am so happy and I am so glad and I'm so blessed that my testimony is helping a lot of people. It's getting to a lot of people, and that people are even trying to tell their testimony as well. You already know, if you're doing your testimony, you're also testifying. Part of my testimony, the I think this is where I really started seeing, like, where I was jumping and transitioning into like the hard part of my life. One of the hardest parts of my life, right? And that is where I feel like I started really hearing and seeing the Lord work, like in the way where it's like He started revealing Himself to me. And this is when I started my immigration journey, y'all. So this is the time where my dad had already left the house. So yeah, we went on a journey. My dad had paid a coyote. If you don't know what a coyote is, it is a person who helps you and other people immigrate. So literally go from country to country. And I am from Honduras, so we fled from Honduras and we immigrated to the U.S., to the United States, to Texas, which is where I'm at right now. 8 people in one taxi. It was up to 50 of us in one bus, and I remember at one time they had us at gunpoint because I don't know what these people wanted, but there was a lot of guns, a lot of violence. It was a point where we couldn't even open the windows, y'all, because there was a lot of people who were targeting us for sex trafficking. So a lot of kids in risk, like us children at the time, we had to be put in fridges and we had to be transported in like in the backs of the trucks. And if you don't know, on the trucks there is like this little compartment in the back where you can open it up and you're able to put as many people as you want. But sadly, a lot of people lost their lives. There was no air in there, so unfortunately a lot of people passed away, a lot of people died. Time where we were at Monterrey at this point, right? And we were in Monterrey, and our coyote had given our group to another coyote, and so now we were with a completely stranger. Like, we had to cross the Red River, and about like a small little boat with 10 people in one little boat, y'all. I don't even know. And the thing is that it is risky. Why? Because in that boat, it's a lot of animals. It's about like pythons, crocodiles. Like, it was dangerous. So towards the end, we had once we finished and we crossed, we walked for about a day or two, and we were just going on circles, y'all. We didn't even know where we were going. We were like, where are we going, yo? Like, we're lost. We've been lost for the past couple hours. And so towards the end, I remember we were in front of the bridge of Dallas, literally in front of the bridge of Dallas. And at this point we had encountered police officers, and at this point my mom was like, you need to start acting. Meaning, like, I had to start crying, because if I didn't cry they were going to separate me from my mom. So y'all, acting skills on point, y'all. I started crying, hysterical. So fortunately they did not separate me from my mom, but we were in about 9 jail cells. I don't even know what was the point of it, but yeah, we went through a lot of them, and a lot of children would die in there, y'all. Like, there was a lot of children who died in there, and they died out of coldness. Like, they would get super cold, and we would call them quemados. They would call them quemados, and it was a lot of kids at that time. So a lot. I had fever about 2-3 times, and honestly they never give you the medical care that you deserved in there. If you died, you died, and that was the best luck you had. The food they gave us, it was raw sandwiches, like literally raw, like food. Like, the food was cold. The juices that they gave us had Clorox in it. My mom almost passed away because of these juices that they were giving us. But she would not let me drink a lot of these juices. Like, she would let me drink some here and there, but she always tried to drink herself those juices before I even had a chance to even drink anything. And she made sure I had water at all times instead of having those juices. And I didn't know that it was Clorox until she told me a couple years ago. So my mom was really out here, bro. Like, my poor mom. The thing that kept me going on this whole trip, on this whole thing, I remember that she was like, I was crying hysterically. I was like, bro, no, mom, like, I don't want to go. I want to stay. I want to stay. And my mom would tell me, like, you want to see dad, right? Like, dad has a lot of toys for you. Dad has this for you. Dad has so many things for you. And I would be so happy. I was so happy, y'all. I was so happy to hear that I was gonna see my dad. I was like, y'all, my little girl, my little inner girl was like, oh my god, my dad. Like, I was like, my dad didn't abandon me, y'all. Like, oh, I was so happy. And so yeah, I remember that before even encountering the police, before even encountering the police department that was waiting for us on the other side, I had prayed to the Lord. Me and mom prayed, and as I saw the cops and seeing that there was someone waiting for us there, y'all, I started talking to the Lord. I said, Lord, Lord, you answer my prayers. You answer my prayers. So this is what I'm saying, where the Lord was already like he was showing me like, you thought this is a child. I'm right here. And my mom was like, oh my gosh, the Lord answered you. The Lord answered our prayers. So this was the point where I was seeing that the Lord was real. Like I changed my mind of no, the Lord don't exist. And now it switched completely to the Lord existed. And I had talked to the Lord. I said, Lord, I will serve you all the days of my life. I apologize, Lord, because that is clearly something I disobeyed on. So it was a whole roller coaster, crazy. In one of these places, it was a shelter. It was like a shelter. And this palm tree fell on top of our shelter room, breaking the roof and almost jabbing and killing most of us that were in the corner. And I had very, very good memories. The whole immigration journey, y'all. I had a blast, but at the same time, man, was an experience. Not everything was bad, y'all. Not everything was bad out of that experience. A lot of things were good. The immigration process wasn't good. That whole journey, I wish I didn't have to go through it. Okay, nobody should be able. No kid, no human being should be having to go through that. But that's just the way I had to go about it, and that's the way it was, and I can't complain. But I think that me putting this episode out and putting this part of my testimony, just I see it as like, yes, it was a rough patch, it was a rough journey, but you know what? Sometimes you gotta learn it. You gotta learn how to survive. You gotta learn how to live, and you have to learn certain things to understand that life isn't what you think it is. And the Lord shows you that. The Lord will put you in this life situation not because He knows or He wants you to go through pain or through struggles, but for you to see, oh yeah, look, this was tough, but I got you out. Yes, that whole process was tough. It was even more graphic than what I can really describe. It's just that a lot of the things I can't really remember as a little girl. But the Lord still show out for me. And towards the end, me seeing those cops, me seeing the police, me seeing that there was a way out, there was somebody waiting for me on the other side, showed me and demonstrated me that God was the one taking me out from that. And He really did. I really do appreciate that the Lord put me through that whole process as a young little girl, not because I deserved it, not because I did something wrong, but because He knew that I had this mindset of He's not real, He's not real. And y'all, it is just the beginning, because as my testimony goes and as I'm doing these things, I look at it back now and I realize like, He really was showing out from the day I was born. It's just that I didn't get to see it till I started growing up and seeing things more visually. Even though I already knew and started seeing them even before going through this whole journey, but I was being blind still. I wasn't wanting to see it until I actually got put into these positions that were tough for me. As I go and talk about my testimony, I'm also testifying. I want someone out there to know and see that if I could do it, they can do it. If I was going through all this and I still had the strength to follow Christ and to be here right in front of this camera to talk to you about my experience, it's for me to show you and for me to tell you you can get out of the dark storm. The dark storm will pass and you can serve the Lord. That what your testimony is, even if it's not as huge or if it's not as long as mine or if it's not as making series like I am, it don't mean that it's not important. It don't mean that it's less than mine or mine's less than yours. It just means that your testimony can also be a testification and a living proof, a walking receipt of what the Lord does for someone who He saves, because He saved me. And I'm just here to testify each bit of it for everybody to hear and see what He does, things that He's capable of. And this is exactly what I want people to see. Even if this takes 10 big old episodes, I don't care. I am here to talk about each single one bit and to show you guys that it might be long, but it's for a reason. And I hope someone out there, it was meant for you to hear it, and that if you're here hearing this, that you know that you can serve the Lord, you can be saved. It's not too late. Love you guys.